So this Zoom meeting or live event is about healing our relationships with the tools of Family Constellation. And we are running Family Constellation workshops and training for quite some time. And relationships is really, really important area in our lives. And that has a huge impact on our daily life. And we would like to talk about this and give some more insight to people. How does it work with the tools of Family Constellation, and how they can help on themselves, or how a Family Constellation workshop can help them, even if that is a one-on-one session or a group session. And we will talk about the different methods, how one can use Family Constellation, and in which ways it can help, or how a Family Constellation, the method itself, sees a relationship and the roles of the partners. Also, we will talk about why it is important to acknowledge our partners and the partner's ancestors. And we will talk about the significant ex-partners and the relationship to the children and ex-spouses, and to each partner's relationship to their own parents and grandparents, and to the partner's parents and grandparents as well, and why it is significant. But let's start first with a short introduction. I wanted to talk about first Jan. She just somehow disappeared. So Jan Primous, she's a mother of 5. She's an artist, a painter. For 20 years, she's involved in alternative healing practices. She's a Reiki master, working with Barbara Brennan energetic healing, and using the shamanic work, the thought field therapy. She's an Akashic record reader and teaching the method as well. She's a Family Constellation trainer and facilitator, and dabbled in many other modalities. And yeah, I'm hoping that she's coming back sooner or later so she can talk about herself as well. And just a few words about me. I started I started walking on the spiritual path like around the age of 5. And when my mom had small intestine cancer, and that was a great trigger for me to find a method that can help her. But luckily she decided to get healthy herself, and she changed her status quo at her relationship, which helped her to heal. So if I see through the glasses of Family Constellation, I see the value of it, how one person can resolve an emotional conflict, and by resolving the emotional conflict, what sort of how significant it is, and what huge impact it can have on the client and on the client's relationship and the healing and the way of recovery. Yes, and later on, when I met with my wife now, Chilla, we met at the Reiki gathering. We did so many things like Family Constellation, Access Consciousness, German New Medicine, recall healing, and so on, so on, so on. So let's start with the base concept of Family Constellations. How Family Constellations work? Oh yeah, just a question. Do you have any question so far, Sarah? If you want, I can help you to unmute. Now you can talk if you'd like to.
No, I'm good. I'm just happy listening.
All right, cool. Then you keep talking. I keep talking.
Great.
All right. So the base concept of family constellation is anything that ever happens is recorded in a place that's called the Akashic field. That's also called the ever-knowing field or the morphogenetic field. That means anything that we did or our ancestors did or anyone else did in this lifetime or any previous lifetimes, that is recorded there, and that information is still available. Hi, Delia. Nice to see you. We just started talking about family constellations and how it works and what's the base concept of it. If you have any questions, you can use on the right-hand side, there is an area where you can click a button that's called, there is a hand type button, and that means you have a question, so hands up. If you can you see that? Maybe if you use your laptop, or then you go onto your screen with the cursor, if you click on the chat icon, that brings up an additional panel on the right, and if you click on the participants icon, that it brings up another additional panel, and there should be somewhere in the middle on the right a blue hand, which means you can ask a question. If you push the button, then we will see you have a question, or alternatively, when you open the chat area, you can type in your question and you can select to who do you type in. Like if you say everyone, then everyone will see your question, and then we can talk about your question if you have anything about the talk. Cool. And yeah, and just let me know and then I will unmute you, but you also can unmute yourself so we can see you and hear you. Okay, so as I just started to talk about, so family constellation has access to the field called Akashic field, or the Akashic records. So, and it is really important because Akashic field is the area where anything and everything that happened to us or to anyone else on Earth is recorded. Why it is important? Really, all the time when something happens to us, most of the time we don't know what's the reason or what's the root cause. So why do we choose the same type of partner, or why do we have this type of disease, or why do we suffer from the same type of relationship at work or at home or anywhere else? Why do we have a returning pattern in our lives? And when we don't know the root cause or the whys, then we cannot really manage the problem. We think we have to go to the doctor because we feel sick, or we go to a psychotherapist because we cannot manage our emotions, or and all sort of things. And family constellation can help people or to access this field called the fields of Akasha, where the information that is stored. So, for example, when someone has a pattern that would like to stop and had enough of that, then the person comes to a family constellation session. That can be a one-on-one session or a group session. A one-on-one session means only the client and the facilitator attends. A group session means there is a group of people who they don't need to know each other. They have problems in their life that they would like to solve. And they attend, and someone says, okay, I would like to resolve my problem. Let's say my problem is that I always choose men or women, partners who have issues with alcohol and they drink too much, and I don't know why I choose them. But originally, at the beginnings, they don't do it, they don't drink, but a few weeks later, each of them starts drinking, and it's just quite annoying, and I cannot change the situation. And then what we do, we ask the person to please select someone from the group to represent the energy or represent the person that is key in the situation. And what happens that just by the client expressing her or his problem, the client gives access to the group and to the facilitator, to the client's family and the client's Akashic field. And by selecting the representatives from the group, they start to channel down the information through their body. So this method really works with the body. And when we start a group session, we always ask people, and we teach a method how they can switch off their ego, their mind play. So the ego doesn't play during a constellation, and it's only the body that represents symbolically what happened in the past that is the root cause of the situation. There are, let's say, basic laws of family constellation or the family spirit. And if these basic laws somehow not treated properly or broken, then the family spirit will start to change the status quo or the situation within the family. So what happens? Let's say we had a grandfather who was drinking too much or playing cards, and he lost the wealth and the house of the family, and the other family members started to reject him. One of the main important law is each and every member of the family has equal right to belong to the family. So when someone starts to judge another family member, judging has the energy of rejection and exclusion, or ignorance, or not recognize the person. So what it does from another end, it's like saying that you are not equal to us, you are not a proper or right person or right member of the family. And we reject the energy of that person by judging the person. However, this only can happen in the world of duality. So only in this area there is such thing as good or bad, or better or worse. But from a higher universal law, there is no such thing as someone is not equal to another one, or a type of energy is not better or better or worse than other types of energies. So the family spirit works from that universal aspect and wishes to bring back that energy that was rejected. So the grandfather's energy. So what happens that the grandfather's energy as playing with cards is brought back through the grandchild. What it means, when the grandchild starts to grow up, he starts to have a tendency to play poker or play cards or have some other ways of playing and losing money. So what happens? He will have the same type of energy that the grandfather had. So this is one of the main rules, like each member is an equal member. The second rule is each member has a precious position, or there is an order within the family, which means who came first in the family or who came earlier has more right than who came later. So what does it mean? Let's say there are 5 kids in the family, and the firstborn has the most right to belong to the family, and the lastborn has the least right. And the firstborn will receive most of the focus, and the lastborn will receive the least. I see you have a question, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
I just wanted to ask, the example that you gave, you talked about the grandfather.
Yes.
What if it was the grandmother's brother, and so therefore it was a great uncle, and he never bore children? So he had no ancestors. Would he still have an influence upon further generations, even though he didn't have children himself?
Yes. So what happens, the first thing is who belongs to the family. So everyone belongs to like, if we are talking about your family and who has influence on you and on your kids, so your parents, your elder brothers or sisters, your parents and your parents' brothers and sisters, so their siblings, plus your parents' grandparents, plus the grandparents' brothers and sisters, so their siblings. Also,
Okay.
your parents' significant ex-partner from both sides. Not the partners who came after your birth, but the partners they had before your birth.
Okay.
And also the grandparents and their significant exes as well. So anything what happens to them, it belongs to your family system, and if any of these energies are rejected in some way, then it can have an impact on you or your offspring. This is the first law, and the second law is the order within the family, which has many aspects. Like one of that, if I'm the second born and there is a firstborn, I have a firstborn brother, but for some reason I feel that I have more right than my brother because he's drinking or he's playing roulette or he's not that smart as me or he's sick, and therefore I tell to my parents and I keep telling him that I'm the stronger and I should inherit everything, and let's say the wealth should come to me instead of you. You are not that worthy as I am, and all sort of things. What I do, I'm challenging the status quo and the position of my brother in the family. And so I'm again just acting against a rule that exists inside the family. And so what happens that each and every member in the family can have a happy and well-balanced life as long as they are at their own position in the family. So for example, when I'm challenging my mother's or my brother's position, then I act against this rule, and that will also have an impact on me and can have an impact on my kids. And in which way? So for example, if I challenge the status quo of my parents, saying that my mom is not the best mom, and there is a mom, let's say my friend's mom, I like her so much, and I wish that she would have been my mom instead of my own one. So what I do by this, I start judging my own mother. When I judge any of my parents, then the energy that comes through the lineage, I just cut off myself from that energy, which means all the support that energetically or spiritually would come through my mother is just suddenly disappear. So for example, any question? No. Yes. No.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Then I just mute. Cool. Yeah. So if I judge my mom, what it means, you can only judge someone or say that I'm better or I know who is better than you if I make myself, so in that case, I make myself superior, because when you judge someone, you become superior and the person becomes inferior. So normally, a child has to be on a lower level than a parent, right? Because the parents came first and the children came second or after them. So when I break up when I kick off the status quo, then I get to a position, to the adult's position, which is not good for me. And by this, I work against this law. And that will have an impact on my life and on my relationships. So I will not have good relationships with partners. And also all the support, like, let's say, if my whole energy level is 100%, then 80% comes from the families, I mean, from the parents, and through my parents, from their grandparents and grandparents, so from the lineage. And only 20% is that what I add to it during my life. So if I start judging my mother, that means 40% of all the energy is just sort of disappears. I cut off myself from that energy. And as a result, I will not have a balanced person on a daily life. So I will have a lot of stress. I will be depressed very much, because that energy, instead of working from 100% energy, I would work from, on a daily basis, just 60%. And also, if I judge my father, that let's say my father was not doing the right job because he was not choosing the right mother for me, then I start losing my father's support and the support of his lineage, because I'm judging him. Anyone you judge, you start to cut off yourself from receiving energy or support from that person in the family. So that has a really huge impact and significant impact on the person's life. Also, for a person to properly develop and become an adult, he has to go through the times or ages of a child, and then to an infant, and then the puberty, and then become an adult slowly. But these steps has to be done, and for that, each and every period is so significant. And when someone starts to judge a parent, then you become superior, and you suddenly, from a child, let's say a 5 or 10 years old child, suddenly misses the infant and the puberty and the other steps, and becomes an adult energetically. And that has a really negative impact on the personal development. So these are the main rules in family constellations. And then just a quick one. Anyone has any questions? Do you have Delia? I can hear you now if you say something. No, I cannot hear you.
So I was wondering,
yes,
what influence would it have then when a child loses a parent to death?
Okay. So when you lose a parent, it doesn't mean that you lose the support or the energetic support of that parent. You still have access to the parents and to the parents' lineage, if you acknowledge your parent and if you acknowledge the parents' parents and everyone in that family. So as long as there is full acknowledgement and you go through the stages of grievance, then everything is good. The stages of grievance is important because grief can create a block in the flow of energy. So, and when we have a constellation, someone says, I have issues with in my relationships, and it can easily show up that the issue is that, so there is a hidden dynamic behind this very often, like when a child loses a parent, after that the child goes into a hidden dynamic saying that unconsciously or a spiritual level, that I will follow you even into death because I love you so much. This is really happening on a very deep unconscious level. And what it creates all types of diseases for the child later on. And what it creates also, it creates a very strong bond and an entanglement in which way the child connects to the dead parent, and all the energies are connected and buried with the dead parent of the child. So therefore the child never can, even when the child becomes an adult, never can create a good and balanced relationship with another partner, because all the energies and all the focus is still with the parent who's died. So there is an entanglement in which way, or a bond created that can be revealed during a family constellation session. And after revealing it, we can work with it and let it go. So help the client to go through the stages of grievance during the constellation. And then after that, the client can be totally free, and the energies that were locked down with the dead parent can be unlocked and released, so that the client has it back and can physically and emotionally turn and start to focus on any new relationship, or on the relationship that the person has. Also, in these cases, if the person has a relationship, because it can happen, because what happens, people with the same type of traumas, they attract each other, because the way we attract each other is, so something if you suffered from many times, or you experienced very often during as a child, it locks into your body. So you store that energetically in your body. Even if you want to change it, you cannot change it, because you were in that energetic level for quite many years. And it requires work with the body, like energetic work or constellation work, to free up these implants or energetic imprints from the body. So after that, the person can become totally free, and not just willing to be free, but physically and emotionally free from this type of wasting of the energies, or losing the energy. Did I answer your question, or do you have anything else?
Yeah, no, that's good. Thanks.
All right. Sorry, Delia, I saw that you were talking about something. I just haven't heard a word. So maybe there is something with your microphone. You can change your settings. On the lower left corner on the screen, there is an icon of the microphone, and to the right from that, there is an arrow. That's the audio settings. If you click on that, the lowest option is the audio options. And when you go there, you can, there is one called test computer mic and speakers. And there is a test speaker where you can set the volume, and below that there is a test mic. And there is you may need to click on automatically adjust your microphone. You may need to untick that and then select the lever above that too. So just have a look and play with it. Yes. I cannot hear you, but as soon as I will hear you, I will tell you. Sheila, you had a question?
Delia was typing something in the chat. So Mike, you can check.
Oh, yep, sorry. And so what about between siblings, that resentment created from childhood and become huge problem in adulthood? So each and every situation is so we would need a bit more details about it. So what is the reason for the resentment, or what? So that's the thing. If we have a constellation, then we can see what is the root cause. So where was so each and every problem in the family, or in issues in between people's relationship, always can go back to the main two laws and act against those two rules. One is the rule of belonging, and another one is the order in the family. So if something happened between the siblings, let's say the firstborn was not loved as much or cared as much by the parents, by the secondborn, or when there is a trauma in the family, let's say if we have let's say there are 4 kids in the family, and only so the kids don't know that there was, after the secondborn, there was an abortion. So the parents decided and made an abortion, or for some reason there was a miscarriage, or in any way they lost the thirdborn. It's really important to acknowledge that there was a thirdborn, so the next child who comes into the family, that one is not the thirdborn, but the fourthborn. So it's really important, like, it helps a lot if everyone would draw a family tree and ask the parents about if there was any abortion or a miscarriage or any loss of children, because they count in the birth order. So they have an important position in the family, and they belong to the family. And usually these resentments or problems are coming from that type of issue when someone is lost and no one knows about it. And usually the parent starts to put more burden on the person who borns after that, expecting that this person will live a life that they expected from the third born. So the third born who died, his burden or her burden goes onto the fourth born. And yeah, this is something that once there is a grievance from the side of the parents, that it also can be addressed, and it creates balance. Or even if the children or siblings has no idea about what happened, if one of them comes to a family constellation saying that I would like to change my relationship to the other brothers and sisters, and I would like to work on that, what happened in the past, that will show up during the constellation, and we will see what was the root cause, and then we can work with the root cause according to it. Jan, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Yes. The problems between siblings can come also from past generations. There could be endless reasons why siblings don't get on. One reason, as an example, is, say for instance, the father, his first love was just the most wonderful love, but this person died, or he wasn't able to connect or be with that person. Then he married the wife he has and has children. He loves his wife, but his first love was never really resolved. Now, sometimes one of the children will step into that position of the unresolved love and become a favorite. And then you have problems amongst the siblings, and it's all on an unconscious level. No one is really aware of what's going on. And there's very often hidden loyalties or hidden ways in which people are stepping out of their position and trying to fulfill or heal other positions. And these are the things that in family constellation become very obvious, so that you can put people back in their right positions. But there are endless reasons why there can be difficulties between siblings. There is the birth order, there is abortion, there is favoritism which comes from the lineage. There's also issues between, for instance, 2 or 3 generations back. If 2 or 3 generations back somebody was excluded in the family because they did something that the family didn't agree with, then that is going to come down and keep coming down until somebody steps into the position and resolves it. And the other pressure on families today that causes difficulty between siblings is, in the past, families had many children. So all the burdens that came down the lineage were shared out amongst 8 or 10 children. Now, in our modern Western world, we have 1 or 2 children, and all the burden is coming down on fewer people. So we have ADHD, we have all sorts of learning difficulties and things that are much more prevalent now because of the weight of the burden that children are carrying. And also, they're carrying many more of the issues from the lineage, so it creates division and difficulty between the children. Did that make sense?
Yes. Do we have any more questions now? Yep. No. Okay. So we were talking about the 2 main rules, and maybe Jen, if you could talk more about the difference between the Akashic field and working with the Akashic field during a family constellation, and how it is different from the Akashic records or reading the Akashic records.
Okay. I'm sorry I missed the beginning, so I don't know what you've already said. When we're working with a family constellation, we're working with the field of consciousness. And the beauty of that is that everything that was ever done is recorded in that field. And in order to heal or restore something, you have to know what is wrong. You have to know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So being able to tap into that and to know the truth of what is gives us a powerful tool to start to heal, repair, or restore something. So the field of consciousness contains all information, and that's what we are tapping into when we do family constellation. And we're tapping into it through the physical body. The person who's representing in the family constellation is feeling through their body, and the body has a consciousness of its own, and it knows the truth. And we know from the work of Dr. John Diamond and kinesiology that the body never lies. And this is the way, phenomenologically, that we are getting the information from the field of consciousness to be able to know what is wrong. So once we can see what is, we can accept what is. This is the process of healing. You can't heal, fix, or repair anything until we know what's wrong. So the field of consciousness is also called the Akasha, which is an old Sanskrit name, which means to bring to light. And that has all the information. But there is another way of directly reading what we call the Akashic records. Now, the Akashic record of a person is all the information about that person from every life from all time. And it's like a computer database. And it's possible to tap into that and download and retrieve information from it. And that is different in a way from setting up a family constellation. When we read the Akashic records for an individual person, we have a special prayer that we say to ask permission to open this person's records and to retrieve the information. The Akashic records are taken care of by what they call the Lords of the Akashic records, or by beings who take care of the records. And when you do a record reading, the person asks you a question, and then you directly are told from the records the answer. Now, the records, the field of consciousness is unconditionally loving and no judgment. So in this energy of unconditional love, the answer that comes is going to suit the person and what they need. So they're not going to be told things they can't handle. They're not going to be told things that don't make sense to them. And the value of it is that one small little piece of truth can be life-changing. Just one little understanding, just being able to see the what is and accept it can change everything. And this, they have now in quantum physics, you know, the Heisenberg principle, which says observation collapses the wave function. This means when you look at something and you see the truth of what is, that changes things. So when we're doing the family constellation, we are using this principle of observing what is, accepting it, and that allows the shift in energy for changes to happen. So the difference between family constellation and a direct reading of the records is family constellation is dealing with the group and it's downloading information. When you're reading the Akashic records for an individual, you're tapping individually into their specific personal records and retrieving information from questions that they are asking. Okay.
Yes.
Any questions about that?
Delia had a question. What about repeating pattern in relationship? Did you speak about it?
When you do the same thing over and over again, or have different relationships that have the same pattern in them? Yeah. I can't hear her speak.
Yes.
Yes. The field of consciousness and spirit is totally loving. And we're here on a journey to, you know, become the fullness of all that we are. And when there's something that's blocking us, it's not just forgotten or let go of. It will remain with us until it is resolved. And when we come to the awareness of what it is, or this feeling of I want to change, and we have the desire to change, then the field will provide the opportunity for that, right? And we may get into a situation that is an opportunity to resolve something, and maybe we only resolve a part of it, not all of it. And so then later on, the similar thing will come again with an opportunity to take it a little bit further. And so very often we find that things keep coming, and the reason is because there's still something that's not yet complete. And at times you might think, this is so annoying, I've worked so hard on it and it keeps happening over and over again. Why can't I get it right? Haven't I worked on it enough? And the answer is probably not yet. That the love of the universe is such that if you have such a deep desire to change something, it will go yes, and it will give you the opportunity. And you think you've done it, but it's not quite, so it'll give you another one. And while that can seem annoying, it isn't actually an expression of love. I don't know if that's a help. Yeah. And these patterns can be repeated within a lifetime, but also from lifetime to lifetime. So if you don't get it right in this lifetime, you can happily know you will get the chance again. So they never give up on us, and we have endless opportunities and possibilities. The thing is, they come as often and as fast as we say yes to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as we are able to say yes to them, and as we are willing to say yes to them. I don't know. Let me see the question.
Yes.
Contracts known and unknown, hidden or else. The possibility we get somehow trapped into being attracted to people whom we have unfinished business from other lives. Do you want me to talk about that, Rocco?
Oh, yes, please.
Well, first of all, let's talk about doing it in this life. An example of that is you have a father who is distant and reserved and quiet, and you never quite had the relationship that you wanted with him. And when you grow up, then you choose a partner who has the same problem, because the longing of the soul is to resolve that. And so you might marry a man over and over again who's just like dad, because you're trying to resolve this problem. And what usually happens is, when you meet a partner who has got the issue that you're wanting to resolve, there is an incredible chemistry, and it's wonderful, and the attraction is completely strong, and it's overwhelming. And that's a sure sign that there is an issue there. And so it's a sort of a watch out. So that happens in this life, that we get attracted to people who have these things, and we will keep doing it. But also from lifetime to lifetime. We seem to be in what would be like a spiritual family, a group of people, and we keep coming back lifetime after lifetime and playing different roles with each other for the sake of the development of consciousness. So this lifetime, my sister is my sister, but maybe she was my mother, or maybe, in different lifetimes. And so we have two sets of lineages that we draw from, that we are working on in this lifetime. We have our genetic lineage, our genetic family and all their generations, and we have our lineage of lifetimes that we personally have lived lifetime after lifetime. So we can have issues from there, or we can have issues from the other one. Now, am I answering the question? Contracts known and unknown, definitely. In a past life, it is very possible that we were a nun or a priest, for instance, and we promised to, be poor and to not have money. And those contracts or promises, pledges and oaths that we have made are are running and continued until you unmake them. They don't just automatically disappear. And we think that, you know, we sort of segment this lifetime and say, this is this lifetime and it's separate from everything else. But it's an ongoing story, and we are born into an ongoing story. The ongoing story of our genetic lineage and the ongoing story of the lifetime after lifetime that we are living. And so we don't come with a blank slate. We come in and we are beginning to be programmed with the stuff from our genetic lineage from conception. Because in the mother's womb, the baby can't tell the difference between the mother's thoughts and their own. They think they are the same. And already we are picking up my family.
Oops. I think we just lost Jen for a moment. Yeah, so she was talking about that we can have impacts, or we can make these contracts or promises in previous lifetimes that has an impact on this lifetime, or also the parents and grandparents, what they did and what they promised, or in which way they live their life, that has an impact on our life as well. And with the tool of Family Constellation, we can reveal both, and we can find what's the root cause of an actual situation in our life or in our relationship at the moment. And the interesting part is when someone has this hidden loyalty or this bond or this entanglement, it creates a blind spot so the person cannot see it. Just an example, we were holding a family constellation, and the friend was saying that, oh, he has an amazing relationship with his partner, and he wanted to work on something about personal development. And it turned out that when I asked the partner to represent someone during the constellation, he automatically thought that the partner is his mom. And that showed clearly that in his world, he just married to someone who is like his mom. And he, in his life, had so many issues with his mom that is unresolved. But in his everyday thinking, he sees his mom, oh, with mom I have no issues, I'm happy with mom and it's all good, but I have so many issues with my father that has an impact on my life, on my finances and the way I live my life, and I would like to work on that. And it turned out that his relationship, or the way he connects to his father, was far better than the way that he connects to his mom. And he just projected everything to his partner, and all the time when they were together, he saw or perceived his partner as it would have been his mom. So we had to clear that in order to fix the relationship. So what happens that the person very often has no idea what is the entanglement, so that it creates a blind spot. So from inside the relationship, the people cannot see it. What is the hidden dynamic that has a controlling factor over their relationships? Because what happens, as just Jen said, we choose relationships based on our relationship to our parents. So, for example, a son will choose a woman who is like mom, or a daughter will choose a man who is like dad. And anything that you learned, or in any way dad was a man and was the partner of mom, you will choose a man unknowingly. Even if you judge your father that, oh, my father was a terrible father, I'm not going to marry any man who is like my father, as long as you have judgment, you create separation, and you create a much stronger entanglement, and you will attract men with those characteristics similar or totally the same as your father had. Hi, Jen. Welcome back.
Everything just went black.
So the second half of Gwen's question was, is there a possibility that we get somehow trapped into being attracted to people with whom we have unfinished business from other lives?
Mm. Simple answer is yes. Yes, we do. The same as we do in this life. Yeah. And the value of family constellation is that you can find out the why and the where of it, and undo any complications or entanglements, and sort things out. So there's a freedom. Mm.
Mm-hmm. And Sheila has just posted another question. So it is, how could it affect a family's life if there is an unhonored ex-partner or an unacknowledged ex-partner? And how do children could react to it? And how could it be possible a child abuse? And could we talk more about, please, these topics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wait, you want me to talk about that?
Yeah.
Did you want to talk?
Oh, I can start. So, for example, as I mentioned at the beginning, the significant ex-partner is really important because, let's say, and how does it have an impact on relationships? So, in one way, let's say I had an ex-partner before my wife, and my relationship to my ex-partner was not finished well. That means, let's say, I still have a strong bond to her in different ways, and I feel that my heart is still hurt by the separation, by losing my partner, and all my intention and all my focus is still, and all my energy is still locked down in that relationship. So I cannot fully focus on the actual existing present relationship. So this is one way this can have an impact on my actual relationship. And what it can create, it creates a constant separation. So it doesn't allow me to connect to my actual partner or to my wife. It doesn't really matter what is the paper or what is the agreement between the new partners. If my energies are locked down with an old partner, with a previous partner, then it won't allow me to create a new relationship. So the new relationship will be really cold emotionally, and it doesn't allow to have any deeper love or connection. So, for example, that's the same thing. When it is revealed with Family Constellation, the old relationship can be healed, it can be acknowledged, and all the hidden and locked energies can be unlocked and released. And I can have back all my energies that is locked down in that old relationship. So therefore, after that, I can focus on the new relationship. And if we see it inside the family, let's say my father had a significant ex before my mother, and my mother heavily judged that ex-partner of my father, saying that she was a bitch and she was a terrible blondie and no one liked her, and she was just like doing bad things and whatever else. What it creates that so when you judge someone, then you want to be, emotionally or energetically, you become or try to become superior to that person. But the significant ex were before in time, so she is more important, or she's also part of the family, so that person also has to be acknowledged equally. So when my mother is judging that person, what happens, if I have if let's say I have a brother, and either myself or my brother, or if I have a a sister, then either myself or my brother or my sister starts to connect to my father in a way where I will belong to my father much stronger, and I start to represent the significant X. So if there is no daughter in the family, then even a boy can represent a feminine energy or a feminine person that was rejected. If there is a daughter, then the daughter will be the matching energy, and she will represent it. So what it creates, when mother starts to judge the significant X of father, then the daughter starts to step into the role and starts to represent the significant X and will create a relationship with father. It doesn't mean that we'll end up with a sexual relationship. It means that will create a very strong and very intense relationship between the two of them, which is not like a father-daughter relationship. It's rather a relation between man and woman. And at the same time, the daughter starts to heavily act and battle against mother, and she doesn't know that why she does it, because there is a hidden dynamic that is started by the mom, and the family system or the family spirit just involves and brings in the daughter to resolve the situation, to bring back the energy of the significant X that was rejected by mom. So the daughter starts to act, and it's a totally unconscious action. And also father will not know what's going on an unconscious level. So they step into a relationship, or the daughter will see always father as her love, which also will not allow the daughter to have a proper good relationship with other men. And also the mother will, the daughter will step in between father and mother, so that will create a split or a separation between the parents. And this can only be healed when this superior-inferior thing is resolved. So let's say the daughter is separated from the role of representing the significant X by acknowledging the significant X. When we acknowledge that X partner, that's the way we bring her back into the family system. And that is the moment when we heal the family system, so the father and the daughter relationship will stop, because there is no need further to represent the ex-partner, because all relationships from all angles are healed. So this is another way how ex-partners and can have impact on the kids. Any more questions? Or did I answer the questions, Chilla?
Yes, but Delia just typed another one.
All right, sorry. How does someone will feel inferior, inconfident than the partner and blame the partner blocking one's development? Where is this energy coming from? Okay, so the question is that, so what is the triggering moment? So what makes the person see his or her partner is blocking his personal development, right? So that's what we need to find out. Where does it come from? So what happened, quite often what it will show, like one scenario is that the person is picking up and represents something that happened in the past previously in the same family. Let's say the grandmother had a husband who was really, really superior and pressing down the grandmother, and the grandmother was just a woman at home, not allowed to learn, only had to look after the kids, not allowed to go out or enjoy life. So she was a really suppressed and hidden person in the family. And if that wasn't resolved, then the daughter or the granddaughter may pick up that and will represent the whole thing. So it doesn't really matter who is the new partner, that granddaughter will pick up that fate or that burden, and will play the same game with each and every partner in her life. So that's the thing. I mean, from one end, the granddaughter will choose men into her life who have a tendency to suppress their partner, because that's what that man learned at home from his parents. So there will be always a match between them in such way. And Jane just came back. Hi, did you hear the question, or that Delia typed in? So it's about how could it happen that in a relationship... Oh my God, okay, losing Jan.
No.
Okay. Okay, I keep talking in that case. Sorry. So that is one thing that can happen. Like there is a dynamic from the past.
Can't hear, love, it's not working.
Yeah, that is a dynamic from the past.
I can't hear you, it's not moving.
That is picked up from the granddaughter. So what happens when during a constellation we can see what was the root cause, and then we can put back this burden to where it belongs to. So what happens that if it belongs to the grandparents, or if it belongs to the daughter's previous lifetime, one of the lifetimes, then we can work with that one and fix it at that level. And when we fix the energies and the imbalanced areas and things, then it will have a ripple effect, and that will clear the whole lineage down to the daughter, to the granddaughter. So she and her energies will set free, and she can step into a relationship, and she can heal her own relationship to man after that, even to the existing man as well. Okay. Do we have any more questions? How do we do this healing? So with Family Constellation, the healing happens, what Jan just mentioned, just when we see the truth. By seeing the truth, it sets you free. So by seeing the truth, you observe the whole dynamic, and it is revealed, and it is revealed in front of the client's eyes, who has the dynamic, who follows that dynamic. That is one really important step. And the next step is acknowledging what happened in the past and giving back the burden to where it belongs to. So let's say if we find it belongs to the grandparents, then giving it back to the grandparents. And during that process, also acknowledging them and receiving them as they are, who they are, what they have done. We use healing sentences that, when told, those start to act and heal the energy, the flow of energy between these people in the past, that will heal our relationships and fully sets free the energy of the client. And also the interesting thing, during a family constellation, like a group session, anyone else who is involved or is there present during the group session, so we all have some way similar things in our lives. So we have issues in relationships, we have issues with our fathers, with our mothers, with the grandparents, with brothers and sisters. So all these similar issues. So if I have a similar issue to, let's say, Delia, who comes to a session, and we resolve Delia's life and Delia's entanglements, then it will set free my entanglement as well, if I have any of that. Only to that level, as much it is similar in the situations. So when we work on one person, it's like working on the whole group who has, and on each and every person in the group. And so we hold Family Constellation sessions monthly here in Auckland. And this is a one-day session. It's a group session where we go through one by one on each person, each client's problems. And it doesn't have to reveal, and the person doesn't have to talk a lot about, just very briefly about what is my problem. Let's say I have a problem with men because I choose this type of man and I would like to change it because I would like to see how it works and why do I choose them. And I would like to have a happy and balanced relationship from now on. And that's all what it needs to be told. And from that we can start and do the constellation and start healing the whole lineage and the root cause. And then when it's finished, usually one constellation takes an hour or hour and a half. Then we have a small break, like 15 minutes. And then there is a next constellation, so the next person can express what is his or her problem. And that's how the day goes. So usually during the day we have 5, 6, or 7 constellations. That means each and every representative or each and every client has her own constellation, plus people will benefit from other people's constellations because the whole group benefits, and there is a group energy that heals the whole group and the group's family members as well. And so the next one-day workshop we organize, it's on this Saturday, starting from 9 or 9:30, running until 5:30 or 6 p.m. So people still can join to it. And yeah, it costs $80 for the whole day. Also, we run a Family Constellation facilitator training, which is a 1-year course that we just started in January. So we had the first module, and on the 18th and 19th of February, we will have the second module where people still can join. And because later on we will start a new course like mid of the year when people can reseat or attend the first module that they lost, or there are other ways how we can cover that knowledge. And what it does, so this is made up of 10 separate 2-day modules, and each module will give more and more information and tools how to work as a Family Constellation facilitator. Are there any questions about this? No? Delia? Everything is okay. All right. What is left for today? Also, we hold one-on-one sessions, that is by request or upon request. So you can contact us and we can find out the date for that if you have anything to work on. So today we were talking about relationships and how relationships can be healed. And next week, Thursday, we will have another topic also in Family Constellation, healing the physical body and how Family Constellation can be a tool to heal the physical body, and in which ways can we inherit diseases from the ancestors, or which way can we follow them into death, and which ways we can resolve it and set ourselves free, or set our kids or children or the next generation free from genetically inherited diseases that are coming from the previous generations. So that's the topic for the next week. We will run the same on Thursday night from 7 to 8 p.m. And people can join and listen to it and post questions. Any more questions we have today? No. Okay. I would like to say thank you for joining for tonight. And it was a really great evening. And it was great to see you. And thank you so much for your questions. It was a really, really huge contribution. And I wish you to have a beautiful evening and a lovely weekend. Thank you so much. I was Rocco Wunderle and Jan Primous. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you.
Thank you.